we still know what makes us feel heard, what makes us feel healthy, all of that sort of stuff. So we wanted to speak on that this episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Let's Rap podcast. I am your host, Jay Echo.
Yo, what's up? This is Philosophical, your co-host.
Today we wanted to continue from where we left off in our last episode. Last episode, Phil summed it up beautifully when he said, the one of the best ways to fix the issue is through compromise and communication. You know, and so this episode we wanted to sort of speak on what does what does open and honest communication feel like? What does healthy communication feel like? Because neither of us are relationship experts or anything like that, but we still know what makes us feel heard, what makes us feel healthy, all of that sort of stuff. So we wanted to speak on that this episode. So Phil, I mean, to you, and I understand everybody's feelings on it are going to be slightly different, but for you, what does open and healthy conversation feel like to you?
So, open and honest conversation could be like the way we're talking right now. You know, just open and honest conversation with each other. Because if not, it kind of feels like if I can't talk to you, then what? It's almost in a period of what knowledge can I gain from you? What knowledge can I learn from you? You know what I
Absolutely
mean?
not.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Oh, see.
I'm not gonna disagree with you there, but having an open and honest conversation is I guess that's just one of my great skills. I love talking to people. I can go to the grocery store or go anywhere and just have a simple conversation with somebody because you never know the knowledge that person may have. You know what I mean? I remember back in the day, man, my dad, my grandmother, they didn't have GPS. They didn't have Google Maps. They didn't have Waze and all that. If you needed an address or you needed how to get to a certain street, you put your window down and you talk to somebody. You know what I mean? That could be categorized as an open conversation. You know what I mean? Just simple asking a question. How do you get here? You never know what somebody else knows unless you ask a question. And a lot of people can be heard or even said to the fact that won't reveal certain things unless they're asked the question. So, I mean, we can even categorize this as, you know, in certain situations, people aren't going to tell you the honest truth unless you ask them.
I would agree with that. Like I would say that that's actually something I struggle with.
Why do
Um,
you feel like you struggle with that?
if I'm being honest with myself and our audience, it's because I carry a lot. Well, there's a couple things. I'm a ball of issues, so let's get that out the way.
Wait a minute, you're a what?
But I'd
You
say
wait a minute, you're a what? A
I
what?
said I'm a ball of issues. Let's establish that from jump.
You mean more
But
like more like a duffel bag.
I mean, see, fair, fair. That's fair. You know what? I'll give you that. but
We all
but
got them, man. We all got them. I got a truck full of them.
yeah, but I'd say one of the biggest things is anxiety and fear. I think
Of what?
that and self-esteem. Those I'd say those three things are big reasons why I'm not as open, as conversational as I should or could be at
Do
times.
you do
Like,
you feel like that symptom could be afraid of rejection?
yeah, I'd say that's a big part of it.
Do
Like,
you feel like why? Do you feel like that sometimes a lot of us men we don't talk because we're fearful of what type of answer we might get?
yeah. I think that's a large portion of it. Like, and I know I've used this word once before, or these words once before, but I feel like that has to do with things like toxic masculinity. I feel like that has to do with things like the social contract we've signed and everything like that. That whole
Social
oh, men
contract.
Men, we don't show our emotions. You know what we do
Yeah.
is we go to work, we go home, and we bring home bacon, and then wife cooks food, and then we sleep, and we do it all over again tomorrow. And anything that takes us away from that ain't part of our life, ain't part of our journey, so we don't need it. Like, that narrative that's gotten put out into the atmosphere, it's changing, but I think a lot of us still carry it with us.
And that's the part where, we've got to learn from that. We got to learn the fact that you may get rejected a couple of times. It's almost like applying for a job. You need a job.
Yep.
And you're applying, and you're getting rejected. You're getting rejected. And then who knows? That could be the sign from God to tell you that ain't the right job for you.
Yeah.
You can even take that context into women.
Mhm.
If, as a man, we should understand and know our value.
Mhm.
If we're valuable within our own selves, we should expect that type of expectation from somebody else.
Yeah, I think
If
that's the self-esteem piece of it,
I think very highly of myself, but I'm humble. I'm humble. I know
When
how
you've been
to.
humble.
Hey man, I'm humble as Kendrick. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I think I enjoy talking to people. It's because I want to get a sense of, not only to the fact that I want to learn something from somebody else, but
Mhm.
I want to be able to understand people. I want to be able to understand, like, everybody's thinking on certain situations.
Yeah, and I think the more I do it, like the more I'm forced to do it, because like part of my job is basically talking to people now. I'm an educator, so I have to talk to people.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so the more I do it, the more I get into the habit of it, like the less intimidating it becomes for me. You know,
Okay.
and I think and it's part of it has to do with how I grew up. Not that I was never allowed to express myself. I don't want to put that out because that's not the case. But um but for a significant portion of time, like I was by myself. Like I learned to be in my head a lot of the time. And because of that, I've brought that forward. So like if I'm feeling a certain way, it's like, oh, this is, I've been here before. I know how to deal with it. I know how to process it mentally. So I'll just do that and keep it pushing, right? And so I'll work through it myself, or my version of working through it. It's usually not healthy, but I'll work through it myself, and I don't communicate what I'm feeling. Or I for a long time had this narrative running in my head where it's like, oh, as a dude, part of what makes you who you are is you have to be able to endure, so you ain't got to tell nobody how you're feeling you know
Correct. Correct. So so this podcast has helped you a lot in kind of, and also you being an educator,
yeah, 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 I'd
being
say.
able to kind of fight that battle of not being able to talk and have honest
Yeah,
communication.
yeah, on a
So
podcast. I mean, I could be quiet on the podcast, but you'd probably get pissed off, and
no, I wouldn't. Not at all. I got plenty to say.
See,
You
I think
know,
you have the opposite issue sometimes. Sometimes you need to know when to not say stuff.
hey, I got plenty to say. You know
I
what I
believe
mean?
that.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm here to. I can sit back and just be a host one day. You just tell me all your stories, tell me all your journeys. You know what I mean? I can just sit back and listen.
See, I don't feel like I'm that interesting.
Hey, but see, the thing about it is, your value.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Well, I won't say. I say yes and no. I'd say I'm learning my value, because for a long time, and this is where the anxiety and the self-esteem and the narrative come in. For a long time, I wasn't recognizing my own internal value. And I think, bringing it back to the initial topic of the podcast, of this episode, I think bringing that to your communication is necessary. If
Okay.
if you know your value in a conversation, if you know what you're bringing to a conversation, then you can go in open and honest.
Yeah. So let me ask you
Now,
this.
mhm.
How do you put that towards trying to talk to a woman? How do you bring that value to trying to impress a woman or have a conversation with her? Would it give some of your ideas on trying to talk to a woman? How would you step to a woman? How would you try to develop some type of conversation with her? What would be
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I know you're putting me on the spot, but like,
no, it's no putting you on the spot.
no, I understand, but you want me to be open and honest, which I'm about to be. Like, for a very long time, I had no idea how I was going to enter a conversation with a woman. For a very long time, it was just like, yo, I'm just gonna say some stuff and see what happens. But now, like, it's like, what is my intention with this conversation? Is this am I entering this conversation to learn something about you, or am I entering this conversation because I want something? Like,
okay.
what's the intent? What's my intention?
Do you think that's wrong? If you're going into a conversation and you want something,
I don't think it's wrong as long as you are honest about it. And I think that's where a lot of people get jammed up.
okay.
I think a lot of times, and this goes back to the this goes back to like internal stuff. A lot of times we don't trust other people. A lot of times, and this is just by our nature
And
as human
it
beings.
could be to the fact that we don't trust ourselves.
That's where I was going. That's
Yeah.
exactly where I was going.
It could be where if we don't trust ourselves, we can't trust another person.
Exactly.
And we got to
So
ask ourselves, why don't I trust myself? Am I mistrusting myself that I'm going to do something that would hinder somebody else's life?
I think it's different. Well, that's part of it, yes, but I think personally, I think a lot of it is a lot of us. We've discussed this a couple different times, but a lot of us come in with our various traumas, our various injuries, our various, like, the different ways that we've been hurt in previous relationships,
Yeah,
in the way we grew up, all of that sort of
yeah.
stuff. We
All that
bring
plays
that
a
to every
yeah.
interaction.
All that, oh man, all that plays a factor, man.
Yeah, and I
The
think
way you grew up, the type of relationships you've been in,
exactly.
I
And
call it like it's baggage. It's
yeah.
baggage.
We all bring our baggage to every interaction we have, and I think a lot of a lot of the ways we interact with people, period, is just us trying to protect ourselves from more damage,
That's
basically.
true. But sometimes we gotta put that wall down.
Yeah, we
We
have
got to
to.
put that wall down because you probably heard this in such a cliche type of comment. What is it? Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yep.
Closed mouths don't get fed, and we gotta be able to. And I think that's why you got some people out here who are explorers that like to travel. I think that's part of the DNA.
Mhm.
People that like to get to know other people, to get a particular different vibe. Because like me, I don't know. I mean, it may not be you, but you know, if I'm out in the grocery store or you know what I mean, I'm at work or something, I get vibe. I get vibes from certain people because those vibes are the way you can engage with a person, whether it's a coworker, whether it's your boss, whether it's a family member, whatever, or whether it's your woman, whether you can tell off the break if the type of vibe a person is just based off of their aura. Like, nah, I'm not approaching her. Nah, I'm not talking to him. He's got a weird vibe. You know, most women
I would
call it
agree.
intuition, but you know, it's a vibe. It's a wave. It's a vibe.
It's a natural instinct and it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, yeah.
Our ability to read those vibes. Some people don't have it or are not very good at it. I would put myself in that category. I'm not always, but that's because I'm usually in my head, like I said, so I'm not paying attention
Man,
to the
we
other
all
side.
are, man. We all are. I'm in my head all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time, man. I think we as men, we're constantly in our minds. Like we 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 want to do one thing, but our mind is telling us something different, man. It's like this voice in our head. It's like, you don't need to do that, or like you don't belong to do that. You know what I mean? That's the narrative where it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's just one of those things where it's a mind game. Man. It's war. It's a battle, dude. It's a battle out here.
Yep.
It's a battle out here, and it's truly, and I truly leave that up to just listening to certain things, reading certain books, looking at certain things on TV, social media, all that stuff. It's just a matter of what you're seeing. You know what I mean? A lot of that stuff can affect you.
Yeah, and in turn affect how you communicate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is dope, but I wanna shift the conversation slightly.
Okay.
So let me ask you, what's it called? You don't have to give like a real life example or anything like that. But when do you feel safest in a conversation?
I feel safest in a conversation when the person, are we speaking people that know me or just random people?
I mean, just
Local
in general,
situation in
like,
general.
yeah.
I feel safe with people when I'm talking to them if we're on the same page on things. And it could be something totally random. Like I was talking to somebody at the grocery store the other day. I saw he had a Vikings and a Vikings jersey on, Vikings hat and a Vikings jersey on. Boom, off the break. I felt safe to talk to him because we had the same things in common. Same sports teams. You know what I
See,
mean? Just
I to this day do not understand how you can support the Vikings, but
well,
that's
well,
on
well,
you.
well, well, you support a team that doesn't have a name.
Okay, see, first
So
off, I do not support them.
you
I get dragged along by them.
well,
That's
you
what
said you,
happens.
you you were supporting them when they so-called quote unquote made the playoffs with a 6-10 record.
Okay, see,
You
first
know
off,
what
they
I
gave
mean?
me hope. Okay, they gave me hope,
well,
and then they crushed
well,
it, and that's
that
what
that
happened.
that, that that's what the WFT do. They give you hope every year. They give you hope every year. Same thing with WFT,
Okay,
the
see, first
Wizards,
off, let me stop you there. They
DC
don't give us hope
United.
every year. They give
Oh, they
us
give
hope
you
once
hope.
in a blue moon.
Every year, you guys are Super Bowl contenders for some reason. I don't know why, but that's neither here or there. But
Yeah,
I feel like I feel safe with talking to people that I feel like we're on the same accord with, because that first interaction, that first conversation could potentially the type of vibe and conversation you could have with them on a regular basis. You know what I mean? It's crazy because starting this podcast and being able to be able to speak to people, I'm now holding conversations with people I never would have thought I would have had a conversation with because I didn't know. I broke
mhm,
that barrier of communication with that person. So I feel like being able to be on the same accord and same page to be able to talk about different things people want to talk about and being self-aware,
yeah,
being knowing things that are going on around you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And just being able to talk about it in general public, general like, hey, they call for snow. Oh yeah, they did call for snow. Did you guys get snow? Yeah, stuff like that, stupid stuff like that.
mhm,
That's just being on the same page as far as having a conversation is such a icebreaker. Talking to people.
mhm.
And that's
So
probably and that's probably something you would tell a woman like, "Oh man, it's brisk out there. It's cold out there." You know, and you never know. That woman could be interested in you. She's like, "Yeah, it is." You know what I mean? It's crazy out there, and then you just keep going and going and going. That's how you build different conversations, and you learn things, and you understand, and you just like, wow, man. You start to figure out what is this person telling me differently that no one else is telling me.
Here's one thing I'll say, and you might agree or disagree. I'm not sure. This is just what has happened to and for me personally. The times when I've gotten into a conversation without wanting anything, purely just curious about another human being, those are the conversations that have been the most successful for me. Like, and that's with women, that's with like job stuff. It's like when I
That sounds
yes,
like that sounds like conversations when you don't have to really think about it. They just kind of happen randomly.
exactly. Like when I
Okay.
go in with like when I go in free of all of the stuff in my head, like
Okay.
I've let go of all the stuff in my head where it's like, oh, I'm trying to holler at oh girl or whatever the case may be. It's not that. It's just like, oh yo, what's good with you? Like what you drinking? I'm drinking a Jack and Coke. It's like, oh, I do Ciroc and Sprite. Well, I don't do Ciroc and Sprite. One, because I don't drink vodka, but and then all of a sudden we're having a conversation about liquor, and I found out that what's it called? Woodford Reserve was dope, and that's the liquor that I enjoy now. But stuff like that. Meanwhile, we've had a 20 to 30 minute conversation that started with what you drinking for no reason. and and it went that way because I wasn't looking for anything from that person but a conversation, and then that
Okay.
turned into I don't know,
It's turned into something.
yeah. But now I understand that you definitely like there are certain situations where you have to go in with intention. I'm not dumb enough to not believe that that's the case, but
Mhm.
like the conversations I personally have enjoyed the most are the conversations where I went in without any intentions, without any ulterior motives, and I was just there being me. And that's when I had the most fun, basically.
Okay. Okay.
And
So why don't you do that more often?
because my head is a very deep and interesting place, and I be in there a lot. So
Yeah.
but
Okay.
but g- uh I think in terms of like healthy communication, that's part of it, like if you're having a difficult conversation, that's different. Like you're there to address a specific thing. But if you go into that difficult conversation and you're very clear on your motive, and that motive is resolution or whatever the case may be, then that's when positive conversations can happen. you know Now you still have to be willing to like you still have to be willing to take what the other person is giving you. Like, oh, if the other person's just mad and unhappy and angry and all of that sort of stuff, you have to be willing to take that at times, because like it's either something you did or the situation is a mess or whatever the case may be. But in situations where you go in with an attitude of reconciliation, of positivity, basically, like if you're looking for positive outcomes, it's easier to find positive outcomes. Like if you go in looking for a fight, you're going to find a fight. But if you go in looking for positive outcomes, you may not find positive outcomes 100% of the time, but it'll be a lot easier if it's like, yo, I'm not really trying to fight you right now. I'm just trying to tell you how I'm feeling.
Okay. So
For me,
where do
anyway.
you decipher that type of conversation? You know, as far as like, you're having a conversation with your woman.
Mhm.
Maybe you had a bad day, like, I just want to talk about how I feel. If that type of conversation is just, you know, again, a lot of times having bad days can be self-inflicted. I know we're saying that word a lot, but
Yeah.
we as men, a lot of our bad days can be self-inflicted. I
Mhm.
mean, for example, if something doesn't go our way,
Yeah.
you know, that can affect us to the point where we just close shop. We just stop everything. You
Yeah.
know, in terms of music, if you didn't record something right or you didn't write something right, and you just reach a point of frustration, you just
Hmm.
reach a point of like, man, this ain't this. I just feel like a man. We're always against what's called self-doubt.
Mhm.
It's always against us. It's always against us to the fact that we don't know how far or how talented or how uh, what's the word I'm looking for? How further progression we can go until we actually have some missteps. Get over our thinking, get over our mind to say, you know what? I'm gonna test it out. I'm gonna try it. You always got to tell yourself, whatever the pitfalls we got, just keep going, just keep going, keep going. Because we as men, it's like when you're in your own mind, it's like it can kill you, man.
Yep. 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 Yep.
It can kill you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it's like these are the struggles sometimes as a man to the fact that, like, so many things can bother us.
Yeah.
So many things in our mind can just be like, you know, forget it, man. I don't want to deal with nobody.
Yeah. I'll definitely be having those days.
You know what I mean? And it's okay to feel that way, but just know at the end of the day that you want to rise up from that.
Yeah.
You know? So that's
So
kind of my thoughts on it. I've been
yeah.
there. I'm still there every day.
I
I'm
think a
there.
lot of
I'm
people are.
there every day, man. Through a lot of these issues where this so-called quote unquote facade where we as men we start things from the most littlest things turns into big blow-ups. Do you want to know why it kind of turns into big blow-ups? It's because that's what we pinpointed and feel it's a bigger issue, and we see it as a bigger issue than anyone else.
Hmm. I mean, but that's because we've. I, so I think that has to do with like it's what's it called? It's the symptom and it's not the disease sort of thing,
I,
right?
I disagree. I think it is a disease.
No, I'm not saying
Oh,
it's not a disease. I'm saying that that little thing that you pinpoint that pushes you over the edge, it's like that little thing is the symptom, but
okay,
the disease is like all of that other stuff you're carrying around.
okay, okay,
Like for instance, like you woke up and I don't know, like you woke up and you didn't sleep well, you didn't get a good night's sleep, and on top of that, you woke up, your back was hurting, whatever the case may be. You went downstairs and you were like, oh well, let me just get my coffee and then I'll be good through the day. The
okay.
coffee you wanted to drink is finished and you forgot to go buy more, so that's there on top of it. Now you got to go to work. You're sitting in traffic for 3 hours because some idiot decided that it was a good idea to cut somebody off and cause a 3-car pileup on your route to work that's supposed to take 20 minutes. Now you're dealing with that, and then you get into the job, and that project that you thought was about to be done turns out somebody hit the wrong key at the office and deleted the whole thing. Now you got to do now you got to do 3 days of work within one because the project is due tomorrow. And then you come home and I don't know, your wife shows up and is like, Tommy got a D on his test today. Now, Tommy has told you all day that this is not his best subject. It's hard for him. He's struggling in class. But you know what? Tommy picked the wrong day to be struggling in class. And now Tommy catching this L because your day has been hot garbage. Right.
Yeah, but I think
Now,
that's yeah. I mean, but
now at the whole issue, and I'm using surface level stuff, really.
yeah, yeah, you
I'm
are.
using surface level stuff. But the issue started with you didn't get a good night's sleep. But that in combination with all of the other stuff is what pushed you to now all of a sudden Tommy's crying in the corner because daddy told him to shut up one good time and he wasn't emotionally prepared for it. You know,
Yeah,
and that blow up is a symptom of all of those other things. But meanwhile, the reason you might not have gotten a good night's sleep might be because you were thinking of, oh, yo, our financial situation isn't very good, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, you know. So all of that other stuff piled on top of the financial situation, and it's like, oh, Tommy's just catching it because there's so much going on. Meanwhile, if you were willing to have the conversation with your wife or your child or the family in general that, hey, yo, our financial situation is a little rough right now. I'm trying to figure it out because that's what I have to do. That's my responsibility as the father or the mother or whoever. And what's it called? And and we're gonna work it out. So if I'm a little testy, I apologize in advance, but this is why it's happening, and I'm gonna do my best to control all of that. But just know if I blow up at you, this is where all of it is coming from. And you had that open and honest dialogue with somebody. So when it does happen, they know, yes, it hurts, but I know he's hurting too. And we have that common thing, like, so that you've brought them into your situation so they understand more and they're more willing to hear you when you say stuff like, yo, I'm not having a good day right now. Whereas if you don't say anything, like you said, closed mouths don't get fed. Everybody's just like, well, he's just a mean dude, we don't like him. Meanwhile, you've had all of this stuff on your mind, you're dealing with this stuff, and you, whether it's through the narrative you've told yourself that, yo, as a man, I'm not supposed to talk about this with other people, I'm just supposed to quote unquote man up and deal with it, so
Yeah,
nobody has to hear about it. That's I,
that's just we got to break that mold because it changes the mindset.
yeah, it does, but
It really changes the mindset
but
to
I
the fact
think
that
I think another part of it, and you can speak on this. I think another part of it is how we talk to ourselves. Like, for
yeah.
instance, like
Uh,
you
when you
you
say talk to yourself, you mean within your mind?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
way
I've,
you
I've been
the way
there.
you
I've
talk
been
to
there.
yourself. I think
Yeah,
that has to do with how you show up. Like, in the beginning of the conversation, I said it's depends on how you show up in the world is how you're going to show up in the
and
relationship.
you know what you should also elaborate on is not only the way you kind of talk to yourself, but you talk to the way you're talking to yourself through dreams. While you're sleeping.
I'm not following you on this one.
So a lot of, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, and
Okay.
through experience,
Hmm.
through sometimes the dreams I've had can have negative effects on me on a mental standpoint.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of the dreams I may have, you know what I mean, will it affect me in real life? Has it affected me in real life? Are there choices or decisions I've regretted talking about or even dealing with? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, you know, through me, dreams can be a subconscious, somewhat of a subconscious reality,
Hmm.
somewhat of a statement to where, man, this could really happen.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so
So
what are kind of your thoughts on that?
so I think I understand what you're saying. So excuse me. I think dreams are a way dreams are our subconscious's way of trying to process certain things, right?
Okay.
And I think that's part of the reason why a dream can have such a significant effect on us. I think because the stuff we're trying to process is real. Now, the way it might manifest inside a dream might be different. Like, you might be trying to process, like, sadness or something like that, and it manifests in your dream as, like, a tree dies or something like that. However it manifests in your dream, I don't know. Like, I'm not a sleep scientist or anything like that.
Man,
But
ain't nobody talking about no sleep scientists. This is something
bruh,
that
let
this
me
is the average thinking of a man could be through
exactly.
his normal
That's what I'm
thoughts.
saying. But there are people who actually study this stuff. Is what I'm
I
saying.
ain't asking you to go read some charts.
I'm not giving you research. I'm telling you, like, the way it manifests in your dream, that can affect that can affect you specifically. Like, it can affect me specifically. Like, I'll speak about me. Like, the way I the way I process things subconsciously, the way some things will manifest in my dreams can drastically affect how I feel the next day, for instance.
Correct. I agree.
So, like, even if I don't necessarily remember the dream itself, like, it'll jack up my whole mood because, like, I'm still carrying that in my head, even if I don't necessarily remember the entire experience, right? And what's it called? There have been days where, like, yeah, I had a bad dream, like, I didn't sleep well, had bad dreams, all that sort of stuff. But in waking up, I was able to pull myself out of it because of the way I was speaking to myself,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've done that before.
and I think what's it called? I think that self-talk, the having a having a positive dialogue with yourself will help you in turn have a positive dialogue with other people.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
because for a long time, and I started the conversation talking about this, my inner dialogue wasn't good. There are still times that it's not good. It's something I struggle with. It's something I have to work on consistently.
Well, I struggle with it too.
Yeah, and I mean, being honest about it, like, I'm like, recently I've actually started looking into finding a therapist and stuff like that so I can work on these things because I know I need to if I want to start showing up in the world in the ways that I know I need to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, kind of give your final thoughts, man. Let everybody know, your final thoughts on this.
No, I understand, like, what we said we were going to talk about, what does healthy communication feel like, right?
Okay.
And to me, healthy communication feels like it's like I feel safe, I feel unjudged, and I feel unburdened by, like, all of the stuff in my head. Because the second you get me in my head, I'm not I'm not going to be as open and honest with you as I need to be. Now, that there's a difference between being in your head and being thoughtful, right?
Okay.
I think there's a distinction between those two things. But if you just have me in my head, if you're just in your head but you're not being thoughtful, then you're not going to be able to be open and honest. Like, so I think one of the primary things that I would like people to take away from this specific episode is the way you talk to yourself leads to how you carry yourself in the world. The conversations you have with yourself are the conversations you have in the world, and the conversations you have in the world are the conversations you are going to have in your relationship. Like, whether they're healthy or unhealthy. So I think a good thing to do, and this is part of the taking ownership part, is to start taking control, or to start learning about how to talk to yourself first. Because the second you start doing that and you start recognizing the ways you need to talk to yourself in order to feel happy, healthy, free, all of that sort of stuff, then you'll start putting that out into the world. As opposed to, if you're talking negatively to yourself, then you're gonna treat everybody just as negatively. It may
The
not show up in
energy,
the same ways, but I think that's what's gonna happen.
the energy you give out is the energy you're gonna receive.
Yeah.
Kind of my final thoughts on it is I mean, I just said it, but I'll kind of say it again, is that, you know, the energy you put out is the energy you're going to receive.
Mhm.
So, you know, a lot of times I get caught up in my head. A lot of times I just caught up in my thoughts. And I just kind of tell myself, you know, did I wake up this morning? Yeah. You know, am I still have my house? Yeah, knocking on wood, you know. And to say that things could be much worse than what the way they used to be. Too
Mhm.
many times I feel like we get stuck in these thoughts is because we've been in situations that has kind of kept us within those thoughts. And then when we get out of those thoughts, it's like a just continue to pound on you, to test you. It's like one big test to the
Mhm.
fact that you're stronger than what you were before. So the urge to think and overanalyze and overthink and assume just can ruin a lot of good things.
Yep.
So that's kind of my final thoughts to the fact that as a man, I mean, both of us, we're constantly in our minds, but don't let it affect your everyday life. Even if you gotta put a smile on your face going out the door, I try to tell myself to have a conversation with somebody randomly each day just to put a smile on somebody else's face. You know what I mean? But when you're in your own little environment, you can kind of uh, go into a mode where you got to think and you got to be like, you know, I'm better than what I used to be. Just keep telling yourself that. So, you know, that's kind of my final thoughts on it. And it's been another successful episode. It's great topic. Just kind of the inner thoughts of a man, you know, having it, and also having a open, honest conversation. I know we kind of got off that topic, but this is what a lot of it has to do with having an open, honest conversation about your mindset.
Yep.
Uh, so so a lot. Follow our socials: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Twitter at Let's Rap Two, Instagram at Let's Rap underscore, and YouTube it's Let's Rap.
Yep.
I
Patreon coming soon.
Yeah,
Thank you all for
Patreon coming
listening.
soon.
Thank you all for letting us get our thoughts out and you know and see y'all next episode. Take care of yourselves and be kind to yourselves. Speak kindly to yourselves.
Peace and love.